Rick Harrison has seen his fair share of weird, wild, and downright dangerous items, but sometimes even he pulls out offers no one saw coming. So today we are going to take a look at the most expensive and rare guns in Pawn Stars. Bazooka Gun. This man came to the pawn shop wanting to sell his bazooka toy. It's an old bazooka toy from 1960. Corey is shocked after seeing this object since it's an extremely rare item. And before making an offer, Corey decides to fire the bazooka to make sure it works.
Say pops.
Damn, son!
Oh, you're right. IRL.
The bazooka works perfectly, but unfortunately, Corey ended up hitting Rick in the eye and he left the scene visibly hurt. Corey laughs this whole incident off and proceeds to ask the seller how much he wants for this toy.
Any idea of when you're looking to get out of it? If I left with 500, that'd be a real good day.
The price seems reasonable, but either way, before buying this item, Corey decides to call in an expert to evaluate the item. The expert arrives and explains that this toy was one of the most popular in the 60s, and it is equivalent of a kid nowadays playing PlayStation or Xbox. This toy was made in the Vietnam War era, when kids were seeing images of war in TV, so the kids wanted to emulate that through the toys. The expert proceeds to analyze the item and comments that it's extremely uncommon to see these weapons in such good conditions. Rick then asks the expert how much he thinks it's worth. The expert replies by saying that the toy is 100% complete and its condition is perfect, so he values the toy at $450. The seller is disappointed by the price given by the expert since he wanted more for his item. Corey then goes ahead and starts the negotiations by offering $350.
$350, man. That's the most I'm gonna pay you for it. $375. Come on, everything's intact. You know what? You beat me. All right, $375. There we go.
Nepalese Bira Gun. This man came to the pawn shop wanting to sell a Nepalese Bira Gun. They are known as the last of the hand-cranked machine guns. The seller states that there are less than 25 of these in the world, making this article extremely rare. Rick is shocked to see such a massive and old gun in his shop and begins to inspect it. He says that the machine looks great and asks the seller for the price of this weapon.
I'm asking $30,000.
Before going any further with the negotiations, Rick says that he will call in an expert since he has no idea about the possible value of this machine. As soon as the expert enters the shop, he is shocked since he has never seen this weapon in person before. The expert analyzes the weapon and concludes that it's authentic and that it's legal to own. And before evaluating the price of the weapon, the expert wants to test it out, since if it works, that could raise its value. The gun test is successful, and Rick now wants to buy it even more. Rick then goes ahead and asks how much it will be worth, to which the expert says that its value is $27,500. The seller is disappointed by this price since he originally wanted $30,000, and Rick starts the negotiation by offering $18,000.
Are you 18 grand for it? 26. 20,000 is the most I can do. It's the most I can pay and still make sense. Plain and simple. I can do 20,000.
19th century pistol collection. This man enters the pawn store and has a collection of 19th century pistols. The seller wants to sell the collection for $6,500. Rick explains that the pistols are very common, but to be sure of their value, he decides to call an expert. The expert doesn't answer, so Rick decides to take a chance and make him an offer.
$4 grand is like the best I could do. No, can I think that'll work?
The next day, when the expert came to appraise the weapons, this is what he had to say about them.
What do you think they're worth altogether? Without firing any, I would imagine that you'll double your money.
Spanish cannon. In this episode of Pawn Stars, Rick and Chumley travel to the East Coast to appraise a 1782 Spanish cannon. The seller is asking a hefty $75,000 for the cannon, which is made of solid bronze and holds great historical significance. The seller claims it was cast in Seville, Spain, and highlights its impressive features, such as the detailed decorations and a carriage that would have originally been made of hardwood. For a professional appraisal, Rick calls Alex, an expert on historical weaponry. Alex explains that the use of bronze makes the cannon both durable and expensive, and points out that its bronze construction and age increase its value. The expert emphasizes that although the cannon is truly impressive, firing it would allow for a better understanding of its condition and true value. Alex prepares to fire the cannon, taking the necessary safety precautions first. Once fired, the cannon produces a powerful sound that makes everyone feel its force. Alex evaluates the cannon and, despite its condition and firing capacity, believes $50,000 is a fair value. However, Rick tries to negotiate a better deal. He offers $35,000, but the seller refuses. After some negotiations, they agree on a final price of $42,000.
I'll tell you what, I'll do $42,000. 22, and you'll take this off my property, and I'll never see it again. I will get a truck to come here and pick it up. It'll never be on your property again. Here. Okay.
Civil War revolver. This woman walks in with a Civil War era revolver passed down from her great-grandfather. Chumley is impressed and asks the seller why she wants to sell it. The seller says she wants to turn it into cash for a family trip to Texas. Chumley notices the Maynard patent stamp classic percussion cap design from 1840 to 1860. He then proceeds to ask the seller how much she wants for the weapon, to which she replies by saying that she is hoping for $2,800 based on similar guns she saw online. Chumley is shocked by this high price, but knows that if authentic, this weapon can cost even more than that. So he decides to call in Alex, their antique firearms expert. The expert arrives and instantly spots the gem. The expert then says that Colt sued this company for patent infringement, so they designed a revolver where you have to manually rotate the cylinder. The expert then also notices that it has the Maynard tape primer system, which is a little tape that feeds percussion caps like old school ammo. The expert then adds that this gun is desired by every collector since only 1,000 were ever made. The expert then says that before evaluating the item, it will be good to test it out, since if it works, it will increase its value by a lot. After the test was successful back at the shop, the expert confirmed that the piece is in excellent condition, fully functional, and estimates its worth to be $5,000. After hearing this information, Chumley goes ahead and makes the following offer.
Give you the $2,800 for it if you still want to yada yada.
Winchester Rifle. Chumley greets a customer who wants to sell a Winchester rifle supposedly from the Battle of Wounded Knee. The seller explains the rifle's historical significance, hoping to get $60,000 for it. An expert verifies the rifle's serial number and related documents, which confirm that the rifle likely comes from the aftermath of Wounded Knee. The expert cannot evaluate the rifle, but confirms its historical significance because he works at a museum. After hearing all this information, Rick offers $14,000. The seller rejects that offer, insisting on $50,000. Rick refuses, and the seller leaves, hoping to find a better deal elsewhere. 4-barrel Speargun. A man came into the pawn store carrying a rare Johnson SMG 4-barrel Speargun. The seller says that he used it regularly for spearfishing, and now he was ready to sell it for $7,000. At first glance, Corey was impressed. But this wasn't just a fancy underwater toy. It fired with nail gun blanks, meaning it used real explosive charges to launch spears. Corey, after seeing these red flags, begun to wonder if this was even legal to buy. So to make sure this weapon was legal to own, he called in an expert. When the expert arrived, he began to explain that this was a rare piece made by Tapmatic in California during the 1960s and 1970s. And after analyzing the weapon for a while, he concluded that it was real. However, then the expert gave the bad news, which was that under federal law, this thing was considered a firearm, and this meant that the shop couldn't buy it. But on the other hand, the expert could because of his federal firearms license. Corey and the expert couldn't ignore how unique this weapon was, so they took it out to the desert to see if it still works. Everyone was shocked by this weapon's firepower, and this made the expert want this item even more. The expert, aware of the legal implications associated with this matter, offered the seller a very low price.
If I were to offer you $2,000, I think that's a pretty fair price. Could you do like $4,500? All right. $3,500, $3,500, all right. Oh.
After a tense back and forth, they managed to reach an agreement and the deal was successfully made. Infrared Heat Seeker. A woman comes in with an infrared heat seeker. It is a guidance system for homing missiles designed for air combat. Rick is shocked since it's the first time he sees an item like this. Rick is amazed by this unbelievable item and knows that an item like this could get the Air Force to come raiding. However, before making a decision, he decides it is best to research more about this item to see what else he can find. Fortunately, it comes with paperwork, but does it mean it is safe? Rick is still unsure if purchasing this item is a smart decision, but he is tempted because having a war technology item which was used during the Cold War would get people talking about this, and this will bring a lot of customers to the store. So as Rick usually would do in a situation of uncertainty like this, he calls in an expert to check out if owning it is legal. The expert is in awe and straight away asks for the documents that prove its legality. The missile missile was made off a German base. Rick then goes ahead and asks the seller how much she wants for the item.
So how much were you looking to get out of this? About $3,000? I'll tell you what, I'll go $550 and I'm crazy to even buy it.
Unfortunately, they couldn't reach an agreement, so no deal was made.